Ryan Jarrell here for Fight Bananas, and my next guest will be headlining UFC Vegas 100 November the 9th when he takes on Carlos Prates. And of course, is the Haitian sensation himself, Neil Magny, on the show. Neil, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to talk to you again. Excited to see you back in the octagon. It is kind of a fairly quick turnaround, right? Like, did you have any second thoughts about jumping back in this soon, or are you more like just excited to get back in there?
No, I mean, he's more so just excited to get back in there, get an opportunity to kind of wash that nasty taste out of my mouth, so to speak. So after the last fight, took some time off, went back to training immediately to help my training partners get ready for their fights. And then shortly after, obviously presented itself to fight main event November 9th, and I jumped on it right away.
And obviously with the Morales loss, very disappointing for you. But like, is there anything that you took from it, or is it just he buzzed you and he ended up getting you out of there maybe a little quicker than you could recover?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it was. It was just a moment where I was just a little too complacent, thinking I had control, and he capitalized on a small moment and threw that spinning back elbow, and I just wasn't able to kind of like recover from that elbow and regain my wits about me. I mean, he followed to the ground, he delivered some real good ground and pound shots and that kind of thing. Just one of those moments that like once he kind of had me rocked, he just never let me get a chance to recover and get back into the fight, which was a job well done on his part. I mean, a lot of people, young fighters in particular, in that moment were kind of like not pick their shots, kind of rush in, giving your opponent time to recover. And subsequently, it will work against him. But he played it well. He hurt me early, and he picked his shots and got the job done.
Did you have any medical suspension after that fight? You didn't have a concussion or anything.
No, so the 30-day no contact order, and then it's kind of the same thing. I mean, whether it's win or loss, I think in between. I always like to get checked up on in between fights, and it's like a full body checkup kind of thing. I mean, there's like the neurological testing you do that kind of goes over short-term memory and that kind of stuff. Kind of goes over this kind of like reaction time and all these different tests. And the cool thing about that is like you do the test prior to getting concussed. So in the event that you ever do get concussed, you have a baseline number to compare to. So after Morales fight, when I went back to doing that kind of testing, they can actually sit there and compare the results to kind of see if my reaction time is delayed, my memory time is delayed, all that kind of stuff. And if it were to be delayed, that'll be a indication that like there was some kind of brain trauma or concussion that I suffered in that fight, and now to take necessary steps to go ahead and correct those issues or whatever. But fortunately for me, this last fight, that wasn't the case. Got a clean bill of health from my team and was good to go.
It's good to hear, man. And obviously, Neil, anyone that follows the game knows. I mean, you're a veteran. You've been around for a really long time now. When you suffer a loss like this, how do you handle it mentally? Is it something where you feel like you've evolved the mental side of things as you've just been in this game as long as you have?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is using that pain for fire. That's kind of fuel to the fire, so to speak. So, knowing the work that I put in before Morales fight, and coming up short, like man, it's a bummer. I could do one or two things. I could sit there and feel sorry for myself, let months go by, weeks go by, and not do anything about it. Not do anything about it as far as like getting better on things I could have done differently, getting better in the gym or what I can do better next time out, or just not take advantage of the opportunity that presents itself to go out there and kind of show like, all right, cool, whatever. It was a day that someone got the best of you, where else may be. That doesn't define who you are. It doesn't define your character. That doesn't define your career. Go out there and kind of learn from that mistake and improve yourself, and not just like say like, all right, cool, I got it, I learned from it move forward, but like go out there and get it done. Go out there and get your hand raised as quick as possible, as soon as possible. Just kind of keep moving forward. Like, don't sit there dwelling on the past too long. Just put it behind you and move forward.
I always find it interesting when I talk to, athletes just about the mental side of the game. You hear a lot of fighters say, oh, it's like 90% mental, 10% physical. Like, could you put a percentage to it? Like when you look at how important the mental side is as a professional mixed martial artist, what would you give it? Is it 90% or is that a little too high?
No, I mean the biggest thing is like being present. Like it all goes back to like I mean for me as a father, you almost go back and talk to yourself as a kid, so to speak. Everyone remembers that old school Lion King story where like Grafiki hits him in the head with the stick. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's in the past. that's literally what we have to do time and time again, whether it's a bad day at the office, a bad day at the fight, a bad day training, a bad day, whatever else may be. The longer you sit there and dwell on what that bad day has done to you, the longer you sit in that kind of miserable headspace. So the quicker you just kind of acknowledge, like, all right, cool, that wasn't the outcome that I wanted. I'm going to shift my mind to a more positive mindset and start focusing on the future while being in the present. The better off you'll be. I mean, I think too often, myself included, we kind of dwell on the mishaps or the misfortunes, and it kind of takes away from our present state of mind, our gratitude, and kind of slows down the progress we're able to make.
I love it. And you said you jumped right back into camp. You're helping your teammates get ready for their fights. Did you take any time to do some stuff with the kids? Like what did you do outside of just, the grind in the gym?
Man, the cool thing about it is like I'm very fortunate now to live the life that I live where outside of training, I literally can spend all that time with my kids. I mean, my oldest son, he only goes to school for 4 hours a day, and then from there he's back with me anyway. So now that they're getting to that age that they're able to go to the gym with me, they're able to entertain themselves while I kind of have to focus on training for a couple hours or whatever. We're just spending time together nonstop. I mean, so they're riding to the gym with me. They're at the gym playing with me. As soon as I'm done training, we're back to playing some more. So I'm getting a lot of quality time spent with the boys now, before training, during training, and after training. So they've been grateful for that life that fighting's allowed me to spend with them over the course of time.
I love the video that you posted on your Instagram as well. Your son Dominic hitting the heavy bag. That was absolutely adorable, man. Like, do you think that maybe you got a future UFC fighter on your hands?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would hope that none of my sons would choose to fight, but the young one definitely tends to gravitate towards it himself. I mean, he sees a pair of gloves, he'll go put them on, and he's there trying to punch the next thing that he could, and it's pretty cool to just kind of like I've never once I'm like, hey, put these gloves on, let's go train, so to speak. They both kind of gravitated towards that on their own. Like even hitting the bag, there was I tell my son like, hey, this is how you hit the bag. He just kind of put it together like, oh, I got the gloves. There's the bag. I've seen this before. Let me go ahead and go to work on this bag or whatever. So to see him kind of like comes to that on its own and kind of enjoy that on his own. I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, even seeing the smile on his face, like in that video, he was kind of like off in his own world, in the bag, doing his thing. And then like he turns around and notices that I'm watching, and he's had the biggest smile on his face. So for me, like those are the moments that I can't get back. Those are the moments that I can't recreate. I mean, everyone wants to do like the big things with their kids as far as like, man, I can't wait to go to Disneyland or Disney World, do this or do that. But those simple moments of like being able to appreciate who they are, who they're becoming, and spending time with them, I couldn't ask for anything more than that.
You seem like the type of dad that might have like thousands of pictures on your phone of your kids. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I definitely getting that way. Like videos, pictures, that's literally what it's coming down to. It is hard. I mean, like sometimes I want to get more of it, but like we're so on the go that like I don't have the luxury of like, oh, let me grab my camera to record this moment. It's like we're just doing things. Like at times like my oldest son being his go-kart, just kind of taking off one direction. My youngest son is on his bicycle, following behind him. And like, I'm trying to keep track of both kids, make sure like they're away from traffic and that kind of thing. So yeah, you want to kind of capture that moment on camera so you can share later on. But you get so caught up in being present with them that like at times you do miss some of those like opportunities to actually capture that moment on camera, so to speak. But I'm good for it all. I'm good for the moments that I maybe spend with them, whether or not I get to capture camera or not. I'm just fortunate to be in a position I'm in now that like the quality time with my boys is like the most important thing to me.
I mean, even if your kids don't grow up and want to pursue a career as a fighter, I have to imagine just as a dad, like the weird world that we live in now, like it's dangerous. It's very bizarre depending on where you go. I have to imagine just maybe wanting your kids to know how to defend themselves and know martial arts in some capacity is probably important, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this and then the cool thing about it is just like the attention to detail that martial arts brings out in your kids and just in people in general, to see how it goes. Like the other day, I was just kind of surprised. My 4-year-old, we watching the PFL fight, and without even again, he doesn't even know what Brazil is. He doesn't know what these countries are, but he was able to put together like, oh wait, this fighter has a flag behind him. That flag must represent a country. And then there was two Brazilian fighters like, hey, those guys are from the same country. And at first, I'm looking at him like, what? What are you talking about? What are you? How do you even know that? But he put it together like, oh, the flag behind the fighter meant they're from a country. And then the next fight, they had one Brazilian fighter. He's like, oh, yeah, that guy's from the same country as the other two guys. So, like, just seeing that attention to detail that being in martial arts and being attentive to your kids brings out. That's what I'm truly grateful for. I mean, it'll be to like kind of spot danger, spot characters from a mile away, from just being aware and being attentive, and that part I'm truly grateful for. I mean, like the physical aspect, we all hope that like our kids never have to be in a position that physically defend themselves. We hope that they can make the right choice and decisions to avoid put themselves in those compromised positions. But it's just those super proud moments to see just how aware of his surrounding that they can actually be at times.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, keep making the posts on Instagram. I like seeing you post about your kids. It's really cool, man. Let's talk a little bit about camp. Obviously, at Team Elevation, I actually interviewed Chris Camozzi the other day, and he said that you've been going into Genesis a little bit. Is that something that you've always done, or is that kind of new?
Yeah, so this last fight I was kind of bouncing around a bit between leaving elevation and trying to figure out where it's going to be. So this training camp, I'm pretty much committed to being at pound for pound now, 100%. And I'm still doing some crushing with guys like Chris Camozzi over at Genesis. But as far as like training with elevation, that team kind of dissolved. There's no longer team elevation. I think a couple of the coaches kind of broke off and started with the are calling Forge Fight Club Denver or something like that. But for the most part, I'm not associated with that team at all anymore. I'm currently doing all my training at pound for pound.
Gotcha. Okay. And I was kind of intrigued to see what was going on. There's, a couple of guys left Factory X, Royval, Alex Hernandez. Like, is there a chance that, you're going to be around some more of those guys? If there's like another big gym that's forming there?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate to do some crushing with those guys, just kind of like being in the same place. Like we both go to Logos for jiu-jitsu, for example. I mean, one of the things that's happened over the last, like I want to say 2 years or so in Colorado, there's been a lot of coaches that weren't willing to relinquish control. And subsequently, what ended up happening is a lot of the fighters just kind of like, oh, well, fine, I can't do this anymore. You're telling me I can't do this or can't do that, or you're putting this limitation on me. I'm going to do what is best for me. And I'm going to choose to do something else. And that just ended up causing a lot of friction between some of the athletes and coaches and that kind of thing. What Elevation Fight Team was 10 years ago, when Lisa Bowling was the head coach, it was a unique opportunity to kind of bring all the best fighters in Colorado together in order to push each other to be the best fighters in the world, so to speak. And since he kind of stepped away, since Mustafar kind of stepped away, it's been pretty hard to maintain that element because every coach that comes to the table to be a coach, they all have their individual gyms that they have to attend to. And with that being said, they all have to like make sure that they're themselves being covered before they can give themselves to the individual athlete 100%. So like if the UFC camera crew, for example, comes in and recording a big fight, it would feel weird if you're a business owner that, hey, why is my business not getting projected in this film, but this gym is? That feels kind of weird. I'm putting just as much work as this guy is. So this is this level of like just kind of like discontentment and like whatever else may be that some of the coaches were feeling that caused some friction amongst themselves, which ultimately ended to like some of the fighters having to like break away from certain coaches and that kind of thing. I mean, I would hope in the near future that we can actually get back to what Elevation Fight Team mindset or thought process was 10 years ago, where it's like, hey, let's get the best of the best guys in Colorado together under one roof to push each other, go out there and be the best individuals in the world kind of thing. That's obviously what I would hope for the Colorado MMA scene, but who knows what that turns into and how long it takes to make that happen.
Well, Colorado is clearly kind of like a mecca of mixed martial arts. There's so many studs that train there, right? Like when you look across, let's just say America, right? You got Florida, Colorado, California, I think Texas. Like, where else am I missing? Obviously, on the East Coast, whether it's New Jersey, New York. Like, where do you feel like are the biggest hubs where most guys are gravitating towards now?
Yeah, I mean, you can see a lot of things breaking out. I mean, like I was fortunate enough to meet the guys like Sean Brady, Joe Pfeiffer, Jeremiah Wells, those guys in Philadelphia, and like now you see like guys like Patrick Sabatini as well. You see those guys in Philadelphia starting to like making names for themselves in the UFC, and then now Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York has a different place to train now. Before it was kind of like, all right, if you're in New York, you're training with Henzo Gracie fight team, and they're predominantly jiu-jitsu, but they had a couple of MMA fighters there as well. But now with the guys like Sean Brady over Philadelphia, Philadelphia is becoming a place to train. We've always had places in California like AKA. We had some of the guys that are going out to Big Bear. We had all these things over the years, but now it's becoming more and more not common, but it's like there's just a lot more availability for where to go as a young up and coming fighter. Before it's like, all right, cool, you get 10 fights under your belt, you're ready to turn to the UFC, Bellator, or whatever else it is. You go to big teams like Black Zillions or American Top Team, and they'll take it to the next level. But now we're starting to see like these different hubs throughout the U.S. where like, cool, you get guys that can start their careers like a late amateur to early pro to all the way to UFC level. They can actually stay at their home gym, so to speak. And also, that's the vision I have for Colorado. I mean, I use myself for an example where at this point, I fought every welterweight Kill Cliff has to offer. And those guys down there, they have the best guys around the world coming together to train one another to help them go out there and be the best they can be. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to get the best guys in Colorado on the same page to help me get ready to go fight those guys. I mean, Kill Cliff, you have guys from China, from Russia, from Brazil, from America, from all over the place coming together in South Florida, go out there and push themselves to be the best version of themselves they can be. But on a consistent basis, I'm struggling to find the best guys in Colorado to help push me to the next level because of the coach's ego, availability, and all this kind of stuff. So definitely hoping that like something changes sooner than later as far as like the landscape of MMA in Colorado goes. But I'm just fortunate for the crew that I have now and a solid group of guys that's willing to go there day in and day out and push me to my limits.
Would you ever move? Is that something that you've thought about?
Definitely thought about it, but like that's a decision that's easier to make when you're 27, no kids, and that kind of thing. But like at this point, 37, two kids, they're kids want to be in school age and that kind of thing. For me to like uproot and leave Colorado now, it just kind of it's too difficult for me to see myself doing it anytime soon. I kind of have to like switch up and kind of adapt to a more smaller training session group or like kind of like what Gaethje does with Trevor Whitman, where he has Onyx. Trevor's able to oversee all of his training. Most of that stuff is done in house. And if they need to bring in training partners, they bring training partners up for camp, or that kind of thing. That's more of a method, or that would work for me in the future, I think, as opposed to moving to like find this mega gym that's to be able to accommodate as far as like training partners and coaching that kind of thing.
Makes sense. As far as Prates go, he's a unique guy. He's tall. He's long, much like yourself. Do you have anyone right now that's able to mimic him the right way to get you ready?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've been very fortunate. I mean, with the splits we have around Colorado, we have been very fortunate that a couple of guys is like this happened to be like, oh, I'm a tall, lanky southpaw. They just happened to leave my gym, look for a new home. I'm able to connect with a lot of different guys who can give me the look that I need to go out there and be successful against Price, which I'm grateful for. And it's just one of the cool things about it. Like even though there's this tension in Colorado between the coaches and some of the teams and that kind of thing. As far as the fighters, for me in particular, I felt I had a pretty good rapport, a pretty good relationship with all the guys in Colorado. So it doesn't take much when you pick up the phone and ask, like, "Hey, man, are you available for a couple of rounds? Can you meet me over here on Saturday or Friday, whatever it is, to help me spar that kind of thing?" And most guys are willing to actually make that happen and accommodate me or whatever. So I'm good for that as well. So I have my solid group of guys that I train with on a consistent basis. But in the event that I need to reach out to others to give me a different look, I have that availability as well.
What are your thoughts on Carlos? Do you feel like this is as dangerous of a matchup as Morales was?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you don't get to be undefeated in UFC by accident. I mean, you have to be a pretty skilled, a pretty confident person to get that done. And you see how he was able to get the job done against Jiliang. That definitely sets the bar high as far as like what kind of fighter he is, what he's capable of. So he's definitely not a guy that I'm taking lightly at all. Definitely can see the different problems that he presents and the different skill sets he presents. So it's definitely a fight that I'm not taking lightly at all.
I don't know if I was just in the dark, but obviously I'm not, an active UFC fighter at a lot of these events like you are. I was talking with Dustin Jacoby and Cody Brundage. They did a podcast with me. We were previewing some event, and Carlos was competing on that card. And Dustin was laughing. He's talking about him, smoking cigarettes after weigh-ins, and I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. Were you aware of that? Are you aware of that? And like, how much do you think that could affect him once he continues to climb and getting this top level here?
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like, I mean, it's just like, is it a thing? Can he actually go out there and perform at the highest level smoking cigarettes? Maybe, but like, it's just one of those things. Like, we live in such a cloud-based era. Like, I kind of take everything I hear with a grain of salt. Like, maybe the guy might pump a cigarette here and there, whatever else may be, but I can't see him being a guy that like smokes a pack and eight, goes out there and just kind of like smokes the competition where he does. I mean, it takes way too much focus, way too much discipline that I can't actually imagine someone at home right now smoking a pack of cigarettes with a fight coming up in 3 weeks. I can't imagine. Maybe it's true. Maybe it actually happens, but I can't imagine. As far as I'm concerned, like, you know what? That was a bit of like that was something to say. It was a bit of a clickbait, some clout, whatever else it may be, in order to get some people talking or whatever. But I can't imagine he's actually out there smoking cigarettes consistently and expecting to compete at the highest level. I just can't see it. If possible, but it blows my mind that he's able to get it done. But I just don't see it as being a real thing, to be honest with you.
Have you ever smoked a cigarette before in your life?
Unfortunately, yes, but the downside is about 13 years old that I did it. So, and again, I mean, even at 13, so now I don't think it had that much of a long-term effect on me. But I can imagine trying to like compete, train, run, do anything with cigarettes. I just can't imagine that at all.
Yeah, it's nasty, man. Um, he's got 15 TKO or KO victories, two losses. He's been finished via strikes. Do you think that your stand-up skill set is on par with his? Do you feel like you're going to have to make this into like a different kind of a fight, like switch things up? Like where are you going to have the advantage in this matchup?
Yeah, I feel like going. I mean, and this is the thing too. So as much as having to prepare for him as far as being like the lankier, longer range southpaw, he has the same thing to have to worry about going against the fight against me as well. A lot of things that I tend to struggle with as far as like my opponents able to capitalize against me on, mainly comes from a guy in the orthodox stance. The fact that he's gonna be a southpaw, it kind of eliminate some of the issues that I tend to have in the striking battles in some of my fights. So I feel like in the striking exchanges, I feel like I definitely would have an advantage there. In the clinch, I have an advantage there, and wrestling, I have an advantage there. So this is one of the fights that I'm just super excited about. I mean, it literally comes down to like grit and who wants it the most. I mean, regardless of where this fight goes, I know it's going to be competitive. But I know I can kind of like slightly have the edge of it and walk away victorious.
And according to Tapology, you actually have a 2-inch advantage in both height and reach. Do you feel like that could come into play here as well?
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things like I'm pretty sure when the Tapology took the wingspan measurements, that was when I first got to UFC 12 years ago. I mean, over the course of time between injuries and everything else like that, I'm pretty sure that reach has shrunk down just a bit. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a pretty well matched fight, and I'm excited for this kind of fight because I can't take anything for lightly. I know for a fact that like I have to be on my A game to be successful in this fight. So it kind of forces me to kind of like go into training, go into the fight, knowing that like, all right, cool, I have to be my A game. I can't take anything for granted. I can't take anything for anything more than what it is. I just go out there and make sure I'm performing at the best of my ability in order to be successful. And I'm excited for that. I know it's going to bring the best version of myself come fight night.
Do you have a prediction for me?
Prediction is Neil Magny winner by TKO, probably in round two, if not three.
All right. Are you paying attention to like the odds? I actually looked earlier today and I didn't see the odds for anyone on this card yet. Favorites, underdog. Like, do you look at that when you hear that kind of stuff now? Like, does it give you a chip on your shoulder?
No, not at all. I mean, this is one of those things that like the odds is one of those things that you can give more attention to the odds than what it needs or whatever. And I'm all about being a present-minded person, a present-minded fighter. And I feel like when I start looking too much into the odds, it kind of works as a distraction. Where it's like, oh, I'm an underdog. Like, oh, I'm gonna show these guys, or oh, I'm afraid. Like, oh, I have this in the bag. So and I mean, again, I have a solid group of people around me. They ever call me out of my BS. And I remember one time I was kind of like just sitting around having a conversation with Austin Hubbard, and I was like, yeah, man, I won every fight I wasn't supposed to win. Every time I'm an underdog, I go out there and win the fight. But without skipping a beat, Austin's like, yeah, but you lose every fight you're supposed to win. I'm just like, huh, damn. I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
So it kind of like forces me to kind of be a little more focused, a little more present. Like, all right, whatever regardless what the odds say, I have a job to do, so I need to go out there and get it done.
We did talk a little bit about that last time we spoke as well. You mentioned that Austin Hubbard story, which is perfect, really, because at the end of the day, the odds don't mean anything. You're going in there, it's fresh, clean slate every fight, and you just got to show up and perform. You're tied with Kevin Holland. You're both 15 right now. So does that give you even more? I don't know if pressure is the right word to go in there and win because I know you want to stay in the top 15. You want to have these, marquee fights, which you definitely deserve and have earned throughout your career. Do you feel that going in to beat this young up and comer and not have what happened with Morales happen again?
No, no pressure at all. For me, the pressure is to go out there and perform. I mean, I'm not too worried about the rankings or things like that. I'm not worried if I move up or move back after this fight. I mean, perfect example is what is his name? He just fought for the title at 205. uh, Khalil Roundtree. The guy's ranked number 8 going into a world title fight. He went out there and put up a very good fight, and somehow after the fight, he's still ranked number 8. I'm like, what? What? Like, how is that even possible? I mean, in a very occasion after a loss, I feel like he displayed a lot of characteristics or just the skill set that say he should be ranked higher, but somehow he worked through from that fight, still being ranked number 8. So when it comes to the rankings, I'm not too worried about it. I feel like I've done a pretty good job over the last 10 years, and I've been ranked in the top 15 for 10 years now in UFC. I don't foresee myself going anywhere anytime soon, so I don't think about the rankings too much. My goal is to be ranked number 1 and eventually be a champion of this organization. So I don't worry too much about the rankings at all. Just go out there, get the job done. Good things follow after that.
Can't wait to see you back in there, Neil. Before we do get out of here today, I do want to get some fight picks from you. This weekend is UFC 308. I cannot wait for. I mean, this main and co-main is basically about as good as it gets, in my opinion. Who do you think are going to win those two matchups in particular? How do they get their hand raised?
Yeah, if I had to pick, I would definitely have to go with Max Holloway in this fight. I mean, just his record speaks for itself. I mean, he had some pretty tough fights, but the guy's never been finished in his entire UFC career, his entire career for that matter, not just UFC. So it's hard to root against Max Holloway, especially when his opponent is banking on his power to be the thing that carries him through. Max Holloway showed in the Justin Gaethje fight that he's definitely working on improving his game as well. Like he's already been known as one of the best boxers in UFC. But adding the kicking dynamic in his last fight against Gaethje definitely shows that he still has room to improve, still ways to improve. He has the ability to add new tricks to his game as well. So if I had to pick, I'll pick Max Holloway in that fight. And up until today, literally, when I saw the picture of Hamzat, I was definitely kind of leaning towards him to beat Whitaker. But seeing that picture, I'm like, man, this guy looks a little thick. So if I had to bet, I would have to go with Whitaker on this fight. I think Whitaker's going to take him to deep waters, especially in a 5-round co-main event fight. I think Whitaker's going to take him to deep waters and get the job done in later rounds.
I hope you're right. I'm a big Bobby Knuckles fan. I hope he does get the win. I want to see him still relevant, competing maybe for the title again at some point down the line. Can't wait for this one. One other fight pick I want to get from you. The welterweight title fight was announced. Bilal Shavkat, UFC 310. Does Bilal retain, or are we gonna have an and no?
Yeah, this might be a very unpopular opinion, but I think Bilal is going to be the one to break the win streak of Shavkat. I mean, Bilal is just one of those guys that is very difficult to train for. Like, he's very unorthodox in the sense that like he does what he does well, but he does the basics very conflicting. So it's like you'll think like most guys, you throw a jab, they'll slip a certain kind of way, we kind of like allows yourself the next shot, that kind of thing. But all does the exact opposite. Rather than slipping a jab, you'll walk into it, or rather than like moving away from getting kicked, he'll take absorb it kind of thing. So I think he's gonna be able to like really make it a long, gritty fight and slowly chip away at Shavkat. And I even might even see Bilal getting a late finish in this fight. I mean, he's just one of those guys that's very relentless. He's pretty difficult to plan for. I mean, unless you're bringing in a fresh guy over and over and over again to give you the kind of pace and pressure that Bilal fights at, he's a very difficult guy to prepare for. So if I had to choose, I would choose Bilal going into this fight.
It's going to be an interesting one. Again, Neil, I appreciate the time, my man. Best of skill on November the 9th. Again, UFC Vegas 100. Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Again, man, I always enjoy talking to you, so thank you very much. Before we do sign off, if there's anything you want to plug or anyone you want to thank, the floor is yours.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, as always, more important than myself. If you guys can, make sure you check out mission111.org. Also, check out Nate Marquardt's Instagram page. He's doing a lot of great work over in Asia right now with the Mission Group as well. So if you guys can, check out Nate Marquardt's Instagram page. See you guys can plug with him with the work he's doing in Asia, and also mission111.org.